Welcome back, everybody, to Catching You. I am your co-host, Rusty Ham. My beautiful co-host, my other co-host, is not here. She's back in college, getting ready for the stretch run of her first semester. So I'm going solo today. And what I wanted to talk about, I posted something on Facebook earlier. And my question was, and I've seen this on TikTok a few times, but with players would um, go up to other players and say, "Hey, what advice would you give to your 12-year-old self or something like that?" And then that player, hypothetically, these are college players, and they would say, "Oh, I would do this or I would do that," right? What I did is I kind of did it for this is a father daughter podcast. So I proposed a question on Facebook to other fathers. Now some others responded, which is fine because what if there was a divorce and or that maybe they're a widow and they're the ones that they're bringing up their daughter. So that's fine. I didn't say anything. I didn't respond one way or the other. I'm just glad that they responded. Again, this is a father-daughter podcast, so I threw it out there for all the fathers out there. And the question was, if you had a chance to speak to yourself 5 or 10 years ago, what advice would you give yourself? And then I responded with a few things. So if they responded, I was going to give them a shout out and kind of maybe read what they talked about. So there was a few responses, and I appreciate their responses. So the first one is from a Jamal Cherry, and Jamal Cherry, he said, "I would have just tried to not get stuck in my bubble too much. We all get in an organization or in a community and we drink the Kool-Aid. We listen to our coaches and friends and don't do our due diligence in finding what's best for our daughter. Every league, organization, competitive level is not the same. Our egos and our bubbles make us believe our B League teams can compete with A League teams. We get around good Division 5 teams in high school ball and pretend if they can compete with Division 1. My daughter was a very good team, but no one got recruited. And not only that, I let them talk me into playing her down in 14U a year too long. Then down in 16s a year too long. We were taking 5th in PGF Nationals and the Colorado Sparkler, but all those scouts watching their games weren't offering anybody on our team. I eventually learned there were teams who my team pretended. Let me retract because I eventually learned that there were teams who my team pretended weren't as good as us, with more talent and with the coaches who had relationships with college coaches. Switched my daughter, all was good. But looking back, it was kind of easy to see, but my mind was stuck in a bubble. And I'm going to get into that if I were to talk to myself 5 or 10 years ago, I will get into that as well. This is from Gary Hill. My daughter is in her 3rd year at college as a pitcher. My advice to my younger self would be let her, myself as well, enjoy high school ball more. You are playing with friends, not saying don't play to win, just saying have fun. Travel ball is where to make your name known. I think that across the board, I think that's well known. But there are some parents, some dads that treat high school way too serious, and I'm speaking from experience because I was a high school softball coach, and these parents were crazy. And again, they're not going to get recruited from high school. Just if you're listening to this, you're not going to get recruited from your high school team. You're going to get recruited from your travel ball organization. So yes, play high school and have fun. Don't take it so serious. This is from Stephen Williamson. Biggest thing I would tell 5 year ago me, if they truly want to play at the college level, they will ask you to practice versus you making them practice. And I agree that wholeheartedly. There was a point where I was getting frustrated with my daughter because I was forcing her to go outside and throw bullpen. And I'll get into that later, rather than having her ask me, "Hey, Dad, can you come out and play catch with me?" Let's see here. This is from Erica again. So there were some moms out there. So again, I'm not discriminating one way or the other. I would have pressed my oldest less. High school was stressful enough for her. She didn't need me to pile on. Things that seemed to so big during those years really doesn't matter. Yep. Especially in high school, we had a lot of drama in high school. My daughter's high school team, a lot of drama. Looking back, it's like, really. So I think this is from Erica Juliano. Yes, very, very, very much align as far as the high school. Again, I was a high school coach, and my daughter was on the team. I was an assistant. I wasn't the head, and I just saw a lot of drama. Specifically high school ball. She never had to and hated every. She never had to and hated every minute of it. She should have been doing what she loved instead. Time enough in life to do things you don't want to do. Thankfully, I've learned by my third daughter. She drives the bus, so to speak, and as long as she loves it, she will work her ass off. If she doesn't want to do it anymore, we move on. They're what matters, not the rest of it. Just them and their happiness. I like that, Erica. Thank you so much. Again, another mom, Kimberly Alonzo. The advice I would give myself 5 years ago is that it matters who you play for and what tournaments they play in. Start in ninth grade with emails and camps. Yes, Kimberly, it absolutely does matter who you play for and what tournaments are in, and what colleges are going to catch your eye. And another piece of advice is, if, let's say hypothetically, there's a girl on your team that's getting looked at by, the power, it's now Power 4, but the Power 5 schools, Power 4 schools, and you do well while they're watching hypothetically another girl that's on the team, and you do well, they're going to write your name down. So it's very important that you're on teams that that other girls are being recruited, because you may catch the eye of said Power 5, Power 4 schools, right? So and she says start in ninth grade with emails and camps. For sure, you need to be emailing. What I've been noticing a lot lately is college coaches don't necessarily care about your game changer video, where half the screen has the the fence behind it, and you're like 30 feet away and can barely see, the catcher's in the way, the umpire's in the way. They don't want to see that type of film. So if you're listening to this and you're sending in that type of film, I wouldn't. I would be sending in close-ups of your workouts with your pitching coach or your hitting coach or your pitching coach, because even with those videos of this is my daughter striking somebody out, she's 43 feet away from the batter, and then another 30 feet with the camera. It's just, it doesn't look good as far as so don't send that to coaches. You want to send in your workouts with a closer view so they can see the spin and your technique. All right. And I think that's it. What I wanted to do with me, and I have three. I have three things I would have, if 5-10 years ago. Now my daughter's 21 years old, so this is probably 10 years ago. I would probably be giving my advice if I were to run into myself 10 years ago. Um, and this is what I said in the Facebook one is I used to coach high school basketball for over 30 years. I was a softball assistant coach for 8. When I started a brand new high school in '09, I was a high school coach, and then my daughter was 6. So probably when my daughter started getting into travel, which is around 9 or 10, is when I started coaching softball at the high school as well, in anticipation of her attending my school. So I wanted to, because I didn't know anything about coaching softball. I only knew basketball. So when I coached the high school softball, it was a few years there where she wasn't there, and then all of a sudden she came in as a freshman, so I was able to be an assistant coach, which was cool. I was able to hang out with her almost daily, right, for 4 years. But that has nothing to do with what I want to talk about here. Uh, I was a coach, and as a coach, I used to tell the players and the parents, trust the process, right? Trust the process, trust the process. Just believe in what I have. I have a certain way of doing things, and just believe in what I do, and all things will work out, right? So that was as a coach. And what I did is I took that to her travel ball teams, her travel organization. And we were in a very high end organization. We were part of the Orange County Busters. If you've listened to any other episodes, we've talked about it in the beginning episodes where we in 10U, it was Team Mizuno at the time, but Mike Stith was the head of Team Mizuno. He broke off from Orange County Busters, created Team Mizuno the following year. I think he went back to Orange County Buttbusters, or he ended up buying him out. So he was now the head of Orange County Buttbusters. And so we were in that organization at a very young age, where Lacey was, my daughter. She was, 10, 11 years old. So this, Mike Stith at the time, and now he's nationally recognized as probably the top travel ball coach in the nation. But he was also, well known at the time too. So we were in this really high end organization, well known, players that have played for him at the time. Team Mizuno, I think it was Sidney Romero was on the team, and Delaney Spalding played at UCLA and ended up playing for the Olympics. So there were some really high end girls that came out of Mike Stith's organization. So we were in this really high end organization, and it was just, trust us, and we'll find a place for you, right? We'll find a place for your daughter. And so we did. We were in 12U, first year 12, second year 12s. We were with a guy named Chris Garcia, and during those years, or during those seasons, he would say, "Oh, my job is to prepare you for Mark Campbell, who was a very sought out 14U coach at the time. My job is to prepare you for Mark Campbell and Mike Stith, right?" So when we did that, we were like, "Okay, we trust you, and my daughter did really well at the 12U level. We got third place. We got first place in the USSSA Elite Select World Championships. We won that tournament, and then 2 weeks later, we got third place at PGF. So our 12U team was really good. Mark Campbell picked, I think, 5 or 6 girls from that team to join his 14U team. So we're like, and my daughter was one of them, and that just propelled us. Okay, now it's go time, right? Now, 14U, we're starting to get recruited. So we're trusting the process, right? My daughter did okay in 14. She wasn't like great, but she wasn't like horrible. But she got hit by a line drive. If you listen to our older podcast, she got hit by a line drive in the head, fractured her skull, was in the ICU for a while. Had to take a summer off in 14s, which is not good as far as recruiting. And so but when she came back, we trusted the process. We ended up going to playing for Mike Stith on his 18s when she was first year 18s. And here's why I'm saying trust your gut versus trusting the process, right? So we trusted Mike Stith. We're on Mike Stith, and if you're on his team, it's all, we thought it was a guarantee that she was going to get looked at by colleges. And what ended up happening was she didn't play a whole lot. So she didn't play in these high-end tournaments with college coaches watching. So even though I said earlier, hey, get on a team where some of your teammates are getting looked at by colleges, you got to be playing. You got to be playing at the time. So she didn't get any time. She was a pitcher. She wasn't getting any time. She was behind. I think she ended up going to Oklahoma and was one of the top pitchers for Oklahoma. So, she was not getting time with her team, but we were trusting the process. And this was during fall, right? So we played during the fall, and she would get a couple innings here, a couple innings there, but we were trusting the process, and we hung on too long, right? We were with the organization when she was 9 years old, and now she's, when she was on Mike's team, she was 16. So we were in the organization for a fairly long time. So we were like, okay, well, we're gonna be we're gonna trust it. We're gonna be loyal. And if you guys know anything about travel softball, loyalty can only take you so far. So we were actually too loyal, and we trusted the process too long, in my opinion, because we didn't get watched. She didn't get seen by any colleges during the fall, and it was just the last tournament of the fall, and it was a showcase, and she didn't play. And so he actually came to us and said, hey, why don't you play for this other team that's in our organization? And she did one time. She played one game in that showcase, and she got some looks by these lower Division 1, which is fine. But my advice, if I would have given myself advice 10 years ago, or at that point it was 5 years ago, is trust your gut. I had feelings throughout the fall that this was not going well, and we should have approached him and asked him, hey, can we go to this other team earlier, or just switch organizations, right? But we hung on for too long because we were too loyal, and we were trusting the process. We didn't trust our gut. So I would tell myself, trust your gut when you feel things aren't going right. Now, I'm not saying don't trust the process. If there is a process, if you feel like the organization is going in the right direction, and they have multiple girls going to colleges, then that's the organization you should try and seek, right? As long as it fits your core values. We have our family has core values, so we just want to make sure that their values fit our values as well, which it did. But we felt we hung on. We didn't approach the coach, and we should have. And that's what the advice I would give is, if you don't feel like something's right, if it just doesn't, if your spidey senses are going off, but do something about it. Either ask to be moved to a lower, maybe a B team. If you're on the A team and you're not getting time, then just don't be afraid to go to the B team. Because that's probably where my daughter deserved to be, right? She's at San Jose State now, which is a mid-major. They were in last place in their conference last year. She's at where she's supposed to be based on her skill level. But it just we hung on for too long just because we're very loyal people, and we were trusting the process. Okay, number 2 is this would be 10 years ago. I should have eased up, and this has to do with the organization again. I should have eased up more on her because we were in the Bat Bus organization. I was putting pressure on her to perform. If she didn't perform I got upset. And part of the reason is it, as a father, um, it was a direct reflection. I thought, again, this is what I thought. It was a direct reflection of me. If she didn't perform, then I looked bad. As a father, I wasn't doing my job as a father to prepare her for the Orange County Busters. And so 10 years, if I had advice for myself 10 years ago, I would just tell myself to chill, enjoy being with her. Yes, you can get on her. I'm not saying kumbaya. I'm saying, but don't get so upset if she had a bad bullpen. Talk to her, have a conversation with her, pull her aside, give her a hug, and say, "Hey, it's okay. You know, pitchers have bad. But hey, you need to work on this. And remember, your pitching coach said this, and we need to work on that." Because she came into the kitchen crying to me. Why are you treating me like this, so to speak? I mean, she's 11 years old. So just, why are you doing like, because she had a bad bullpen and I just totally ignored her. I took my bucket, I just walked right by her, slammed my bucket down in the garage and didn't talk to her. That's how I did things back in the day. And it's not good. I just needed to relax and chill. If I were to give my advice to my 10 years ago, just chill, just calm down. It's not a reflection of you. Yes, she's in an organization that they're going to put the pressure on her. You don't need to add more pressure onto her. And then the last one, this goes with trusting my gut and trusting the process, is I would tell myself to trust yourself and seek a better pitching coach. Now, I'm not saying that if we've got a better pitching coach, she'd be, in these power four schools. However, we trusted the coaching staff at the Orange County Buster. They said, "Hey, you need to go to this pitching coach. You need to go to this pitching coach." Turns out that, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, they were lining the pockets of these pitching coaches within the organization, rather than us, than trying to find the right coach for her. So it backfired. We went to a couple coaches within the organization. It backfired. It didn't. She wasn't improving, and she was getting frustrated from how they were coaching her. We ended up finding just somebody locally here. She's awesome, Wendy, and she played for Arizona. She played for Mike Condrea, Wendy Hauser, awesome. Lacey thrived during her tenure when she was coaching her. So I would trust your gut. If you feel like the pitching coach is not improving your daughter, then move. Even if they're within the organization, you need to find, because it's your money, right? You can do whatever you want with your money. And if the organization looks down on you or doesn't play your daughter because you went outside of the organization to get better help, then that's probably not the organization you want to be in. So those are my three things I would say, advice. And again, we can always do what ifs. We can always do the what ifs, and I would have done this better. I would have done this better. But it just basically what it comes down to is just trust your gut. Just to end it here, one just came in from another person, Joseph Friday. I tell myself to start teaching the recruiting process sooner, right? The sooner parents and players understand what they need to do and how they need to do it, the better the outcome. So I'm glad we ended with that, because I had no idea how the recruiting process. Again, that's because I had no idea. I trusted the organization, rather than doing my own research. Um, she eventually got recruited. It was tough because, if you guys have listened to past episodes, we switched teams to Athletic Mercado right away. He said the new coach was an advocate. And that's another thing I would give advice to is find an organization that's going to advocate for your daughter. Meaning they're going to look out for them. They're going to be looking to get your daughter recruited. With the Baptist, or specifically with Stith and Campbell, college coaches came to them and said, "Hey, who do you have?" They rarely, if they probably did, but I would say they never did. But they may have gone out and said, "Okay, I have this player," and they would contact coaches, say, "Hey, I have this player." But more often than not, the college coaches came to them. And you go to these showcases, and we would be playing another team, and the other team would have flyers. We wouldn't. We didn't have flyers because I never, it baffled me that we didn't have flyers. It was just because I guess they would just contact Mark Campbell or Stith and to say, "Hey, who do you have?" And then he would say, "Hey, I have this person, this person, this person," and they would come specifically to watch those players. Where you're playing other teams and they have these flyers, and it gives their GPA and all that kind of stuff. So look for organizations that are going to advocate. So we switched over after that fall that I was talking about. We switched over to Athletics Mercado. We had her coach Greg, on one of our episodes, and he called Ohio State, North Carolina. I think he called two other, and Ohio State's like, "Oh, we're good on pitching." North Carolina's like, "Yeah, we need a pitcher." So we scheduled a visit. We went out to North Carolina. Great visit. They loved her. And then COVID hit, and then we got ghosted by North Carolina because they were supposed to come out to us during a high school game. They were supposed to come out and watch her, but COVID hit and they couldn't. So they ended their recruiting on her. We ended up getting with SoCal A's, and they had an advocate, and they got a hold of San Jose State, and because they had a brand new coaching staff. A lot of the girls, after the other coach left, a lot of the girls left with him, and so they had a new coaching staff. So there was a lot of openings. It just the planets aligned at that point. COVID hit, coach left. We switched teams. They made a call, and yes, we need a pitcher. We need a lot of players at that time, and so they recruited her. And all of our recruiting videos were, they were pitching lessons, live pitching lessons online. I think they were able to come out and see her twice during 2021 when things started opening up. So she's where she's supposed to be. She's going to be graduating soon. I'm super excited to watch her play. She's coming down to the Mary Nutter. She's coming to UNLV, Las Vegas. So we're going to take a trip out to Las Vegas. She's coming down to San Diego State. So we're going to be able to watch a lot of her games her senior year, and we're totally looking forward to it. I appreciate everybody who's listening. Again, we're a year in, and we'll catch you guys on the other side. Take care. Lace, if you listen to this, I love you, and looking forward to seeing you in 3 weeks during Christmas break. All right, guys, take care.